everybody, it's Wallguy, and welcome to the second strategy breakdown. I did the last one on Medal of Honor 2010, and a lot of you guys enjoyed that and wanted to see more. So this will be the second strategy breakdown in a continuing series, so I hope you continue to enjoy it. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe so you don't miss any of our future videos. It's generally our habit to put out a video every other day, and we're pretty consistent with that, so stick around if you like what you see. This strategy breakdown series is all about where I take you through the thought process I had while playing in the round you see, and I try to explore in better detail the reasons for the choices I was making as I played. Let me set the stage for this particular scenario. As you know, our modus operandi is relentlessly aggressive gameplay. We believe in pushing the pace to stupid levels and watching our opponents fall apart under the pressure. This often leads to impressive kill counts and, more importantly, absolutely dominant victories. We just slaughter the teams we play. And sometimes our method of attack can also lead to a lot of deaths. You know, we're awfully aggressive, and that puts us at risk a lot of times for deaths, especially if it's a little bit laggy or whatever. Now, those slightly higher death counts are usually mitigated by high kill numbers and, more importantly, the total psychological destruction of our enemies, not to mention their scores. Nonetheless, this increased death frequency means that we're not watching our score streaks very closely. We're not carefully trying to manufacture an Apache or other high score streaks. We believe it's much more effective to be as directly involved at all times as possible, and slowing our pace to protect KDR is not something we find beneficial to our team's overall success. It may make us look good, but you don't look so good if you're not beating the other team down, and we really like to have the other team feeling our presence. That's our school of thought on the issue, and that's why we're usually relentlessly aggressive. But there's another school that always prioritizes KDR. I think that's the stat that is generally put out there the most, that people really care about when they try to measure how good a player is or how much skill a player has. What's your KDR, you know? They really want to know what that number is, and I guess it's kind of how people have come up in the games, and they've come to look at that as the measuring stick, because in the absence of any other real measuring sticks, that's the one that really stands out. It's a number that they can easily grasp and put out there to impress people. So to entertain that school of thought a little bit, that audience that, you know, is KDR over everything is much bigger than the one that is dominate, relentlessly aggressive style like ours. So there's a lot more people thinking about the KDR way than my way. So I decided to entertain that school just a little bit, and in this game, play a little bit different. I'm going to do things their way. I'm going to show you guys how to get a good KDR. Now, I want to quickly mention that this is a very old video. I actually recorded this a little bit before the patch came out, and it never got posted. Why? Because it is a very different style of game. I was purposely going for an Apache in this game, and I was purposely protecting my KDR, and it just doesn't fit with my relentlessly aggressive approach as usual, so it sat on the shelf. I didn't use it. But it fits perfectly for a strategy breakdown on how to get a high KDR, because that's exactly what I did here and exactly what I was doing. To achieve my high KDR and get an Apache, I make some simple adjustments to my usual style. First, I need to have a good sense of where the battles are taking place. I use the minimap, UAVs, basically all the things I can see and hear, everything at my disposal to try to understand where the hot zones currently are. I also do this when I play my normal aggressive style, but then instead of doing what I do here, I charge right in and attack that hot zone directly. I get up and deep in it, and not worried about if I'm taking 3 or 4 guys on at once, whatever, I get right up in there. The adjustment here is that instead of getting inside the hot zone, I kind of approach the outer rim of the hot zone. If I want to get a high KDR, the most important thing for me is to not die very much. But I also need kills in order to run up my KDR, so I must get involved on some level. So with an understanding of where the action is happening, I approach the outskirts of the hot zone cautiously. If you don't know already, a hot zone is where most of the battles tend to take place in a given match like this. It just seems to happen in every game where a couple engagements will happen, they'll start shooting at each other people will notice it, and more people will come and find engagements there, and they'll start a bigger and bigger fight. So ultimately, say 80% of everyone in the round is either somewhere in the hot zone fighting it out with people, or they're dead and they had to spawn and they're running back to the hot zone. Hot zones are usually centered around an objective that one team, the aggressor, is trying to take from the defending team. And there's usually like a center mass where there's very intense conflict happening near the center of the hot zone, and it gets weaker and weaker as you get out to the outskirts. So to get a high KDR, I want to position myself where I can see the hot zone from a safe distance and be able to shoot into it without being too close to the action. In this spot, the odds of getting flanked are much lower. Most of the people are centered around that hot zone, and I'm on the outskirts, so my back is pretty much protected because the odds of someone running up there are very low. I can focus on taking protected shots at targets in front of me. And if I'm noticed, I can always retreat without fear. As you see here, I just got my Apache. Not that hard to do when you follow this sort of strategy. Personally, I don't really try to milk anything to get an Apache anymore, because especially since the patch, you can't see people on the ground too well as the pilot. You certainly can't maneuver very well to take well-aimed shots at the opponents, so it's pretty rare to get a very good payoff as the pilot. So the only real reason to try to get your Apache is because it can sometimes pay off really well for your fire team buddy. In this particular case, I got maybe 1 or 2 kills, and my fire team buddy only ended up with maybe 3 or 4. Better than nothing, but quite honestly, I'd probably have killed a lot more people on the ground in the time that I was stuck up in the chopper. So that's one reason why I don't really try to get Apaches too often anymore. So with the Apache now done, I've got to work my way back towards the hot zone. I have another number of dead teammates here. They might have died while I wasn't there to kill a bunch of people, who knows. Got to retake center base and work my way back up the hill. Now the enemy has scattered a little bit. They're no longer concentrated as sharply in one area, and I've got to kill some of them to shrink the hot zone a little bit and get back in a good position to retake the final objective. These are a little bit more dangerous scenarios than the ones you saw earlier because they are trying to press forward and retake center after losing it. But I've got the UAV and I'm watching it closely, staying under cover, and taking them down. Now, normally, especially in the earlier scenario, if you're skillful with your shots, you can get a good number of kills without getting seen too often. So I'll send out some well-placed shots and then take cover so my exposure time is limited. This prevents getting picked off by someone maybe I didn't see, or getting seen by people and pursued, which can cause complications. You don't want to alert too many people to your position if you're trying to kill people covertly, obviously. That does it for this episode of Strategy Breakdown. Come back soon and come back often for more relentlessly aggressive gameplay from Wallguy and Meowth.